Well, preserving the legacy of those we cherish. We're going to unpack that subject today with my friend Sandy Wheeler. We all know that our days are numbered. Simply put, we just don't know what day that is. So for those who serve as first responders or those of us who have served in the military, we know that every day there's a higher risk that could be the last day. It's the reality of the job. So on this edition of the Military Wire, Sandy Wheeler is joining me to discuss how you can preserve your legacy with a new state-of-the-art technology that captures your thoughts that you want to share after you are gone. So welcome to this edition of the Military Wire with Mike Schindler. I am Mike Schindler, and this is where we discuss, interview some of the most important men and women who have served this country in uniform. And we let them tell their stories. We let them share so that you, the listener, can get an aha moment that hopefully you can apply to your own life. So today's episode is sponsored by Bone Frog Cellars. My friend Tim Cruikshank and Dave Johnson founded the company. Bone Frog also does coffee, which is amazing. And when you purchase that, a portion of those proceeds go to the Navy SEAL Foundation to help our brothers and sisters, their families, in the event that they do, in fact, fall. So a big bravo Zulu to Tim and his team there. So let's get to it. We don't know when we're going to leave this earth, plain and simple. We are all promised the moment we're in. So how do you capture those true thoughts? How do you capture the things that you're really thinking about that you want to perhaps share, but maybe don't share in the moment, but you want to share after you're gone? Well, we're going to talk about that today. So joining me is U.S. Navy veteran and Vietnam veteran, Sandy Wheeler. Sandy, welcome to the Military Wire.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Glad to be here. And by the way, Tim is a great guy.
Yeah, Tim. Oh, I love Tim. So Tim is so good. So first of all, I want to say welcome to the show. But secondly, I feel like I should be singing you happy birthday because I think tomorrow's your birthday.
So how'd you know that? Tomorrow is my birthday. Yeah, 73 years. Geez, amazing.
That's amazing. Well, before we jump into this new technology that you got, and you're such an entrepreneur, you've got such a success record. I want you to share with the audience a little bit about your background, why you chose to serve in the military, number one, because I think that's important, but then the lessons you learned from the military that carried you through your corporate success. So start there.
Be glad to do that. So I graduated high school in 1967. A friend of mine who I'd played football with was already in the Army in Vietnam. And we got the news that he was in a track unit and they'd taken some shelling from some mortars, escaped it going out, coming back in, they kind of had him nailed. It was in a no-fire zone and they were denied return fire, which was mind-boggling. But as we know, things like that do happen. And Bob was killed. And so I think it was part me wanting to have my chance to pay back, which that's not always a really good idea. Yeah. But it was in my heart. And the other thing I think that was really near and dear to me was thinking about the luxury we have to live in a country like the United States and realizing that someone at some time paid a very heavy price for you and I to have the freedoms we have today. And it was with that I thought the South Vietnamese were just like us, that they desired that kind of freedom. I think when I got over there, that was one of the shocking parts to me. Yes, you had a group that were dedicated, but there was a whole bunch of folks who just weren't dedicated to that. And so that was kind of an awakening period, even though I loved serving with the admiral and the commander that I answered to. I had a top secret clearance. I got to do so many things I would have never dreamt of doing. And it was a great time. And I think the beginning of this time capsule thing that I'm going to talk about actually started there, because I returned home on April 7th, 1970, expecting to be able to hook up with one of my best friends out of high school, a kid by the name of Dennis Pipkin. Dennis was with the Army, only about 2.5 hours south of my base, though we never did connect in person while we were over there, but we had this date set to celebrate life when he got home. And I think it was about 2 weeks after I was arriving home, Dennis was going to be home. Difference between Dennis and I also was that he had a little baby boy that was born while he was in Vietnam. And I got home on April 7th and to discover and get the news that Dennis had been killed on April 5th. And it was devastating to me, part because he would never get to see his little boy. And more than that, the little boy would never get to see his dad, and he would never get to wrestle with him and play football and do all the things that dads and boys do. And his wife would never see him again alive. And it threw me a real curveball. But I think God uses everything in my life. That's what I believe. And that part was the beginning that I can look back on now, Mike, and say, that was the beginning of this vision, is to make a difference and say, if something like that happened, how would I preserve that legacy? How do I preserve the voice, the face, and the personality? And you'll find out as we talk about this archival video technology. So that's where I started in the very beginning to get to where I am kind of today.
You know, I love the progression. You come back home, and I think sometimes there's this perception that you know, our Vietnam veterans were, number one, you guys did not have a happy homecoming. I mean, so welcome home. I mean, that was, you know, that was a period in America where we did not treat our returning vets with pride or joy or ticker tape parades or anything. I mean, it was just the opposite. It was almost like you had to go into hiding. Yet your generation is some of the most successful business owners in the country. You know, the data shows that. You guys came back and you didn't wallow in your misery, and you didn't let that define you. You went on and to do great things. And Sandy, you've done some pretty great things in corporate America, and I want people to understand the things that you've done in corporate, because that also is going to, that really aids you in what you're doing today too. So you get into corporate America. What did you do in corporate?
Well, when I came back, no one in my family had ever been to college. We were a fairly poor family as it goes. We ate, but we didn't have any extra money. And when I came home, met the love of my life at college, and I had a professor that asked me to speak about Vietnam to his son's class in high school. I did. And he said, hey, why don't you take one of my classes? And I said, well, what was that? And he goes, well, it's accounting. Well, I didn't even know what accounting was. So I had to ask him what that was. And he explained it. So I took the classes. I did well in them. I liked it. So I went on to become a CPA and hit one of my goals, which was to be recruited by the big 8 accounting firms in my day. And I had my choice of where I wanted to go to work. So I worked at Pete Marwick in Seattle, Washington. Got to do some interesting stuff. Stayed in the accounting industry for 11 years. And then out of a blue, one day I got a call, and we didn't have cell phones in those days. So I was telling my wife, I don't even remember how this guy got a hold of me, but I had done something for him at Stanford. I can't even tell you what it is today.
Yeah.
But whatever it was had an impact on him. And he reached out, chased me down, and he said, hey, would you take a look at a piece of crude exercise equipment I have from a kid who's from Ethiopia, and he's created it, but we can't seem to get any traction. I was speaking in Nevada. They rolled that baby up there. I took a look, and that was the beginning of what most people would recognize, a brand name called Bowflex. So I started that day one, 0 sales, 0 brand recognition, raised the majority of all the money. Eventually went on to buy Nautilus, Stairmaster, and Swim Fitness. And that company still operates in Vancouver, Washington today. It's got a great team on board now, and they on the New York Stock Exchange under NLS, and they do awesome. So it's kind of nice to have birthed something like that. And I was pretty lucky, you guys, because I'm not a genius. I just work hard. And probably an example to me, it's one of the things my dad, who was a Marine, always taught me. Son, you need to work hard.
Yeah.
And you need to be honest. And so I remember working full-time at Alcoa while I was going to the university, getting my degree. And so I didn't graduate in the very top of my class, but I was the #1 recruited, because when they saw my deal that I worked full-time at Alcoa digging pots, and I was like number 7 in my class with a child and a wife, it just was, there was no brainer for them. They just really recruited me hard. So that was kind of how I rolled along, and we eventually did that. And then we moved back to Wenatchee from Vancouver because my wife's mom had Alzheimer's.
Mm.
And my wife really wanted to be near her mama. Wasn't the best for me professionally, but this is one of the things we're also going to talk about is in relationships, there's called sacrifice.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
wife really wanted to be near her mama. So me, I said, that's what we're going to do. And now as
Yeah.
I look back, I'd say it was the perfect decision. And I went on to help other startups just for free. I didn't want to retire. So I just would help them with all kinds of tasks. And so that's kind of how I rolled around. And then this military thing probably started for me in solidification 7 years ago when I really went to work on it. And it happened. There was a Navy SEAL, and you'll recall an event called, it was a call sign called Extortion 17. That happened in 2011 in Afghanistan, and it was mostly SEALs aboard, a quick reaction force team going out, and their entire helicopter was shot down, 30 men, all killed. Well, this one Navy SEAL on there, E9, 30 years, unbeknownst to any of us, he left the video. And he had created a video for his wife and the two little boys.
Mm.
I didn't have my platform remotely. I just was sharing with guys. If I was serving today, something I would do. They had the technology of a video camera, not so much the phones that we have today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he shot that video, and at his funeral, at the very end, it just goes totally dark. And then on pops this guy, and there was not a dry eye in the place. That was
Yeah.
the cementing factor for me, that I knew what kind of impact will that have on those left behind when we actually can do that. So that was, I would say, was the real birthing of me going, this is the way to go.
Yeah, that was a catalyst. Let's jump to that too, Sandy. Your latest venture, Time Capsule Corporation, it's really about capturing those thoughts, leaving that legacy behind, but doing it in a very methodical way, which is different than just recording on your phone, I think. Tell us more about this new technology that you've got coming and why it's so important today.
Well, it's in essence, it's pretty simple. It's an archival video technology that simply allows the creation of videos, but those videos could be archived out for generations. And I'll just give you an example. If I was serving, and let's say I'm older like I am, and I not only have a wife, but let's say I have grandchildren. Well, I could create a video for my grandchildren, regardless of their age, and I could create 3 videos I want. I could have one that goes to them if, in fact, a tragic event and I'm killed in action, that would go to them. Based on their age, it would either go to mom or dad or to them. And then I could leave one for their 16th birthday or the day they graduate from high school or graduation of college. And I actually could create a video for the day they get married, even though I'd have no idea, right? They may be 5, 6, or 7 in those days. The great thing about our technology is that you can relate to any wedding you've been to. So I could leave a little deal that just said, hey, sweetie, sorry I can't be there, but I love you immensely. And I remember when I got married and what a special day that was. And I just wanted to be there in my voice. You get to see me, and I'm going to tell you, I love you immensely. Have the best day of your life. You can imagine if that showed up on their computer 2 or 3 days before that event, what that would mean. So that's the kind of the essence. You could take it out that far, Mike, with unknowns that you don't even know, but eventually every event gets a date, and then that date causes it to be dispersed.
Wow. So and I think that's important. That's an important differentiator from just recording a video on your phone. It really is being able to put these timestamps in there that then it's almost like the old books. And I'm sure you remember these books, Sandy. Remember you'd read a book and you'd choose an ending, right? Well, if I choose this, then it has this, right? There was okay, I'm kind of going down the tree here. So what I'm hearing is this technology allows me to pick the tree that in the event of, then deploy this video, in the event of, deploy this video. Is that correct?
That is correct. And part of it that we're after that I think has really attracted the military folks I've been able to chat with is the fact of using as pre-deployment protocol.
Yeah.
So something you have to do. So instead of writing a letter, if that event would happen, you have now a video that preserves, you and I can see each other. It's your face, your personality, and your voice. we want to expand that also, Mike. So it's not only for those things out that far, but you can imagine having been deployed, and sometimes you have missions that you have no idea what the date or the circumstances surrounding them. But let's say you had that, and in that time frame, you also know your daughter has a piano recital and your son has a football game. Well, I could get over there, record, take my phone, record a deal, tell my daughter how proud I am. I know how good she's going to do on her piano recital, give her encouragement, love. Over here from my son saying, I know you're going to knock their socks off, up. I love you, bud. I can then archive those for whatever date I want those to go out near term. And if I'm on a mission or stuck, I don't have to worry about it. It just automatically disperses it to them. Oh, so it will also keep a close connection with mom or dad while they're on deployment, but they can take whatever downtime they have, create those, archive them. They don't even have to worry about them. They're going to. So
what's the cost of doing this, Sandy? Is there a cost to doing this?
Well, in the beginning, there won't be. I think what we'll eventually see is the military will buy terabytes of storage.
Yeah.
And they'll get our app to utilize within those terabytes. And then we'll just have something simple like that. So it won't cost the military folks, as far as if I was serving, was it going to cost me anything? No, it's not going to cost you anything.
Yeah.
So the whole idea.
So, I mean, this sounds like such great technology. I'm thinking about, how can I use this in my own life? Right.
Well, we will be. Yeah. And those are great points. I want to start with the military because of just their situation. And what I had happen on August 26th of this year was just, that was the tipping point for me, where I said, this is not going to happen again. As fast as we can get this technology up and going, we're going to do that. Because those 13 kids, to me, they're kids. And they were men and women, 12 Marines, 1 U.S. Navy corpsman. And all of a sudden, their family is never going to get to talk to them again. Yeah. And if we would have had this technology, part of that pre-deployment was at least they would have had their voice just like you and I talking. They would have been looking at that screen and nobody would have cared whether they just cried their eyes out or not. They could just let their emotions go and just focus on that person who they loved. Yeah. And that's our goal, is to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think you're offering, the ability for people to have some sort of closure, when, like I said, we don't know when that moment's going to be, right? We're just promised the moment, and, we just don't know. And so I think it's just exceptional. So, Sandy, at this point, what can people do to reach out, to support, to get involved? Are there things that people can do to really help this effort get off the ground?
Yeah. So I also determined at that time it would be really cool to do a crowdsource funding event so that anybody will be able to look at this company, Time Capsule's app, into the future and be able to say, I helped do that.
Yeah.
And I think it is literally, no one gets any kudos, big kudos on their back. Not me, not anybody. I'm just the messenger who simply got something to be able to deliver. And so we're going to do that starting November 1, and they could go to our website, and I can send you a link that you guys, I'm guessing, could post to yours. Yep. But basically they could go to www.timecapsulesapp.com, and it's capsules plural. So timecapsulesapp.com. And I know that our technology guy, so I'm a zero technology guy, which is kind of ironic that I'm coming up with this kind of stuff, but he is going to have our connections to Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. But if we could post that link on your guys' site, then that enable all your listeners to be able to just go there, grab it. And what we're hoping is that people put in their $10, their $50, their $500, whatever they want.
Yeah.
And then pass it along to their friends, because all of us who love the military, we will take great joy in delivering this kind of package to them, or at least I believe.
Yeah, I so love that. I so love that. So timecapsulesapp.com, that's what people need to remember. Sandy, I just got to say that your service to our country, number one, thank you. the impact that you've had on our communities, on society, on the health and well-being of individuals across the country, probably across the world for that matter. Thank you for that too. And I think it's so important that our audience just know that you are just so humble. I mean, you and I have sat and had coffee. We've laughed. We've thought of just crazy stuff over the years. But Sandy, your heart, I think, is so compelling, and the fact that you want to help people leave legacy and provide closure. I mean, geez, it's a bravo Zulu on that. It's just so exceptional. I mean, it really is.
You know, it's because I think of myself. You know, it's somewhat selfish. If I have kids or grandkids that serve, I would want that for me.
Yeah.
I want to hear their voice. The other thing I found was for this Navy SEAL, his boys were only 7 and 9 when that happened. The one's now a sophomore at the Naval Academy.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
He utilized those 6 minutes from dad throughout the grieving process. So anytime they were missing dad, plug that baby in. And I agree, it was only 6 minutes, but it's 6 minutes of eternity.
Yeah.
And it shaped them and molded them. And I was just sharing with a Navy Captain SEAL friend of mine who just retired, and he's been best friends with him forever. And he was over visiting the older boy at the Naval Academy. And I said, can you imagine, Mac, if Lou would have had the ability and the technology to do this archiving, and on the day that Gabe graduates, that up pops a video from dad saying, hey, bud, I'm so happy. He wouldn't know he's going to go to the Naval Academy or just regular university.
Yeah.
But if he had that as an event, that event then gets changed to a date. And on the day he graduates, out pops that. Just as a guy, I can't even imagine, well, I can, what that would mean to me.
Yeah.
It'd be one of the treasures of my lifetime, right? And that's all we're trying to do, is I'm just trying to make a difference in people's lives. I'm 73 and I'm going, I don't want to do anything that doesn't make a difference. Otherwise, if it's just for money, it's for nothing.
You know, I think that's a great way to wrap this segment up. I mean, it's great advice for everybody. You know, I think we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves, why am I doing what I'm doing? You know, am I doing it for the right reasons, the right motivations? We can chase money and still feel empty, but if we chase purpose, and your life has been just a great example of living on mission and purpose. And it's not easy. I think you'd probably be the first to say it's probably not easy, but it's important. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, when we put our head on that pillow, if we could say, you know what, I did good, you know, I'm making a difference, I'm moving the needle forward for the best of everybody. That's solid. So Sandy, thank you for being on the Military Wire, sir.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it so very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who are looking to really discover your post-service identity, when you get out of the service and strip that uniform off, and you're looking to figure out who am I, what is my new mission, my new purpose, my new identity, reach out to us at Operation Military Family, and our team will help you out, and we'll get you on mission and purpose. So Sandy, thanks again for being on the show.
You bet. Thank you.